Hi, I'm Lisa. Let's improve your English fluency with the news so that you can communicate clearly and confidently about what's going on in the world. I will teach you advanced vocabulary from a newspaper article, and I will help you improve your accent. At the end of this video, we will read the article together. I will pause to give you a chance to repeat so that you can practice your pronunciation. Many of you know that I live in Los Angeles, and I like to bring you stories from my city. In the last few days, a lot has been happening in Los Angeles. There have been protests, anger, violence, and political division. The article is from the Wall Street Journal. Let's find out what's going on in my city, Los Angeles. The title of the article is Los Angeles Launches into Fourth Day of Anti-ICE Protest. Let's look at the word launch. Let's make sure that you're pronouncing it correctly. Some of my students commonly confuse the pronunciation of these two words. This one is lunch. Lunch. That's something you eat. It's an sound, lunch. And the other one is an sound, launch. Launch. It's a bigger vowel sound. Open your mouth. Launch. Let's say both of them again. Lunch, launch. To launch is to start something new or important, like an event or a project. The article says the city launched into a fourth day of protests, and that means that Los Angeles began the fourth day of protests with intensity. We can use to launch this way. We can say the company launched a new website last week, or they launched a new product. The school launched a new program to teach English. And let's look at ICE. Do you know what ICE stands for? It stands for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. ICE is a U.S. government agency that handles immigration and border security. So the article is saying Los Angeles launches into fourth day of anti-ICE demonstrations means that there are protests against this agency. And the agency deals with immigration, people who came to the United States. And in this case, people who came to the United States without permission. Some people protested outside the ICE office. The news talked about ICE arresting people. The article states that the city launched into a fourth day of protests Monday after anti-ICE demonstrations in downtown Los Angeles escalated over the weekend. Let's say that word together and let's stress the first syllable. Escalate. Escalate. And if we use it as a noun, then we stress a different syllable. We say escalation. So we say escalate, escalation. To escalate is to make something bigger or more serious or more intense. The protest escalated over the weekend means that they became bigger and more intense. We can say the argument between the friends escalated into a big fight. Or we can say the small fire escalated and burned the whole house. Let's look at the next paragraph. Videos from the Friday incident captured people surrounding vans, shouting and chanting. As word spread, more people showed up, and the protests grew and lasted into the night and picked up again on Saturday. Let's look at chanted. The verb is to chant, and be careful, maybe in your language, there's a similar word that means to sing. For example, in French, chanter means to sing, but in English, to chant means to say or to shout words or phrases repeatedly, and often in a group and sometimes with a rhythm. The article states that people were shouting and chanting during the protests, and that means that they were repeating slogans together loudly. For example, we can say, the fans chanted the team's name during the game. Protesters chanted, "No more war," in the streets. Let's look at this expression, as word spread. When news or information is shared and more people hear about it, we can say the word is spreading. As word spread means when people heard about the protests, they came to join, making the protests bigger. We often say, please spread the word. And that means, please tell other people, spread the word. And we can also say, word is spreading. And that means more and more people are finding out about something. Word is spreading. As word spread about the sale, many people went to the store. The word spread. And what is the past tense of to spread? Do you know? Spread, spread, spread. It's the same in the past tense and in the past participle. Let's look at to pick up. In this case, it means to start again, to continue after stopping, but also to increase or to gain in strength. The article says the protests picked up again on Saturday, and that means they continued. They became active after a pause. We can use to pick up this way. I picked up my studies after taking a break. And we can also use it this way. The wind picked up and the storm got worse. Let's look at another paragraph. On Monday, defense and congressional officials said roughly 500 Marines were deploying to the Los Angeles area to protect federal buildings and personnel. Let's look at roughly. Roughly means about or approximately, not exactly. So roughly 500 Marines means about 500 Marines. It's not an exact number. For example, we can say, the trip will take roughly 2 hours. Roughly 20 students came to the party. The store is roughly 1 mile from my house. Let's look at this word. And let's compare the pronunciation between this word and this word. This one is personal. We stress the first syllable. And this one is personnel. We stress the second syllable. Personnel are people who work for an organization, such as employees or staff. The article states, protect federal buildings and personnel, and that means protecting the workers or the employees in the government buildings. We can say, the company hired new personnel, or all personnel must wear ID badges. Let's look at the next paragraph. Trump said local leaders didn't move quickly enough to address the clashes. How do we pronounce this word? Do we stress the first syllable and say address? Or do we stress the second syllable and say address? It depends. Is it a noun or is it a verb? In this case, it's a verb, so we stress the second syllable. But let's say it as a noun first. Address. Address. What is your address? Give me your email address. First syllable, make that a, the a vowel, big. A. Address. And if it's a verb, we stress the second syllable and we reduce the a and we say it like this. Address. Address. Let's say them both now. Repeat after me. Address. Address. To address is to deal with or to solve a problem. So didn't move quickly enough to address the clashes means they didn't take action to stop or to control the conflicts. We can use address this way. The mayor promised to address the city's traffic problems. We need to address this issue as soon as possible. Who's going to address it? Someone needs to address it. Let's pronounce it in the two different ways. Repeat after me. Address, that's a noun. Address, that's a verb. And let's look at clash. A clash is a fight or a conflict between two groups. To address the clashes means to do something about the conflict, to do something about the protests. For example, we can say, there was a clash between the two groups at the soccer game. Police stopped a clash between the protesters in the street. Let's look at another sentence. Law enforcement officers fired tear gas and rubber bullets to disband the crowds. Do you know what a tear is? When you cry, you have tears. And tear gas is a chemical used by police to control crowds. It irritates the eyes and it makes people cry and it makes them want to leave. And this is a compound noun, so we stress the first word and we say tear gas. Tear gas. We say it as one word. We can say, protesters ran away when tear gas was fired. A rubber bullet is a bullet made out of rubber, not metal. It's used by police to control the crowds without harming them, without killing them. Rubber bullets hurt, but they're safer than real bullets. The crowd ran when they heard the rubber bullets being fired. And let's look at the verb to disband. To disband means to break up a group of people, to separate them. Disband the crowds means that the police made the protesters leave, and we can use to disband this way. The teacher disbanded the noisy group of students. the police disbanded the crowd, or the police disbanded the protesters. And you know what a pocket is, right? I put my hands in my pockets, but it also has another meaning. Pockets of demonstrations means small groups of protesters in different parts of the city. They're not everywhere. They're not spread out in Los Angeles. They're just in different pockets. There are just pockets of demonstrators. We can also say pockets of snow, pockets of fog, pockets of land. We can say pockets of warm air cause turbulence during the flight. Or we can say, there are still pockets of snow in the mountains. The snow is not everywhere. There are just pockets of snow. Pockets of demonstrations broke out. And this is a phrasal verb, to break out. And that means to start suddenly. For example, a fight or a fire or an event can break out. Pockets of demonstrations broke out means that small protests started suddenly in different places. We can also use to break out this way. A fire broke out in the kitchen. Fights broke out after the soccer game ended. Protests broke out when the new law was announced. And let's look at one more paragraph. California Highway Patrol officers pushed protesters off Highway 101 using flashbang stun grenades and tactical positioning after hundreds of people spilled onto one of the city's main thoroughfares. Flashbang stun grenades. They are devices used by police that make a lot of noise and a lot of bright light to surprise people or to scare people. So they were using flashbang stun grenades to shock the protesters and to make them leave the highway. And these are flashbang stun grenades. Let's look at to spill onto. You probably know the meaning of spill. It's usually used for a liquid. I spilled the water. Be careful, don't spill the milk. It also means to move quickly or to spread from one place into another, like a crowd moving to a street. Hundreds of people spilled onto one of the city's main thoroughfares. That means that many protesters moved quickly into the street. We can say fans spilled onto the street after the concert. Or we can say people spilled onto the park for the festival. And let's look at the pronunciation of this word. This is a difficult one. Thoroughfare. Let's pronounce the first two syllables first. Thorough, thorough, thoroughfare, thoroughfare. A thoroughfare is a main road where many people travel. One of the city's main thoroughfares refers to a major street in Los Angeles where the protesters gathered. That's a thoroughfare. We can say the parade blocked the city's main thoroughfare, or cars filled the thoroughfare during rush hour. And now let's practice your accent. Let's read these sentences again. I will give you a chance to repeat. I want you to pay attention to which words I stress and which words I reduce, and how I connect the words and where I pause. And of course, pay attention to the pronunciation of the individual words. Okay, let's get started. Repeat after me. Los Angeles launches into fourth day of anti-ICE protest. The city launched into a fourth day of protests Monday after anti-ICE demonstrations in downtown Los Angeles escalated over the weekend. Videos from the Friday incident captured people surrounding vans, shouting and chanting. As word spread, more people showed up, and the protests grew and lasted into the night, and picked up again on Saturday. On Monday, defense and congressional officials said roughly 500 Marines were deploying to the Los Angeles area to protect federal buildings and personnel. Trump said local leaders didn't move quickly enough to address the clashes. Law enforcement officers fired tear gas and rubber bullets to disband the crowds. Other pockets of demonstrations broke out. California Highway Patrol officers pushed protesters off Highway 101, using flashbang stun grenades and tactical positioning. After hundreds of people spilled onto one of the city's main thoroughfares. Unfortunately, this article was not a happy one, but I hope you learned some vocabulary. I suggest that you keep reading the news. Anytime you see a new word, look it up, and then practice saying it by making your own sentence. That way you can truly master it. You can remember it. It will become a part of you. Thanks for watching and keep practicing. Take your English to the final level of fluency with my online courses. The American Accent course, the 400 Advanced Words You Must Know for Fluent English course, and the Phrasal Verbs for Fluent English course. Go to AccurateEnglish.com.